war continues fiercely in several regions of Ukraine, especially in the southern and eastern regions. Russian attacks damaged infrastructure targets in several regions in Ukraine, including Kyiv, Lviv, Kharkiv, and Odessa, resulting in significant utility disruptions and killing at least 3 people. In the previous video, we talked about the ceasefire which was announced by Russian President Vladimir Putin on Thursday of last week in honor of the Orthodox Christmas celebrations. During the ceasefire, both sides accused each other of violating the truce. The Russian Defense Ministry confirmed that its forces have continued to target Ukrainian positions in response to enemy attacks. The Ukrainian government and the United States have accused Russian forces of not respecting the ceasefire, while Moscow claims that its troops have only responded to enemy attacks. During a speech on Sunday evening, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky condemned the Russian shelling of Kherson with incendiary ammunition in the southeast, which occurred after Christmas. Zelensky also accused Russia of targeting civilian objects in strikes on Kramatorsk and other cities in the Donbas region, despite Moscow's claims of a silence in the army. The 36-hour ceasefire in Ukraine expired at midnight on Saturday. As soon as the ceasefire was over, according to a statement from the Russian Defense Ministry, Russian forces conducted a deadly retaliatory strike in the eastern Ukrainian city of Kramatorsk in response to the deaths of Russian troops in Makiyivka. The strike in Makiyivka happened on the night of the 31st of December 2022. The Ukrainian ground forces launched a rocket attack on a school building in Makiyivka, Donetsk, where Russian soldiers were residing. According to Ukrainian officials, the attack resulted in the deaths of 400 Russian troops, while Russian officials initially reported that only 63 troops were killed. However, on the 4th of January, Russia revised the death toll to 89. The attack, which was carried out using 6 HIMARS rockets, destroyed the building and caused damage to nearby military equipment. The Russian Defense Ministry claims that more than 600 Ukrainian servicemen were killed in the strike in Kramatorsk, which targeted 2 buildings that were being used as barracks by Ukrainian troops. However, it is worth noting that these numbers have not been independently verified by other sources. The Russian Defense Ministry did not specify when exactly the strike took place, but stated that Russian intelligence had over the past 24 hours confirmed the temporary deployment points of Ukraine's armed forces in Kramatorsk. The ministry also claimed that over 1,300 Ukrainian troops were housed in the 2 buildings that were targeted. Ukrainian officials have denied claims made by Russia that 600 Ukrainian troops were killed in the strike. Serhiy Sherevati, a spokesman for Ukraine's troops in the east, stated that the strikes on Kramatorsk only damaged civilian infrastructure and did not affect the armed forces of Ukraine. On the day of the strike, journalists in Kramatorsk reported hearing at least 4 explosions in the city. The head of the Donetsk Regional Administration also reported that Russians launched 7 rocket attacks on Kramatorsk, causing damage to an educational institution, an industrial facility, and a garage cooperative. He also stated that there were no casualties, contradicting the claims of Russia. Reuters reporters visited the 2 college dormitories in the area where the Russian Defense Ministry claimed Ukrainian servicemen were temporarily living, near the front line of the war during the overnight strike. However, the reporters found that neither dormitory appeared to have been directly hit by missiles or seriously damaged. According to them, there was also no evidence that soldiers had been living there, such as bodies or traces of blood. On Sunday, the Ukrainian military announced that it had targeted a residential hall at a medical university in Rubashne, a town in the Russian-occupied eastern Luhansk region. The attack reportedly killed 14 Russian soldiers who were housed there, and the number of wounded is unknown. In addition, fighting in the eastern towns of Bakhmut and Soledar resulted in 1 death and 8 injuries in Bakhmut, according to the governor of Donetsk. In the northeastern Kharkiv region, the town of Myrifia was hit by attacks during the night, resulting in 1 death. 2 other settlements in the region were also shelled, according to Governor Kharkiv Oblast. Serhiy Haidai, the governor of Luhansk in eastern Ukraine, reported on Sunday heavy fighting in the region, and stated that Russian forces had deployed their most combat-ready units and heavy equipment to the city of Kreminna, which is currently occupied by Russia. Haidai suggested that this could be interpreted as a sign of Russia slowly retreating in the region. He also noted that as temperatures drop to -15 to 17 degrees Celsius at night, fighting is likely to increase as it becomes easier to move heavy equipment in the cold weather. On the other hand, the founder of Russia's Wagner Group, which is known to be Russia's most high-profile mercenary group, announced his desire to capture Ukraine's eastern city of Bakhmut for its resources and underground cities. The Wagner Group, which is led by a Russian oligarch who is a close ally of President Putin, has been actively involved in the ongoing battle for Bakhmut along with the Russian military. The fighting in Bakhmut, which has lasted for 5 months, has resulted in significant casualties on both sides, but Bakhmut remains an important stronghold for Ukraine in the region. The leader of Wagner stated that he is particularly interested in capturing the city for its rich resources, including its mines, because of its network of underground cities that can accommodate tanks and military equipment. Earlier, Reuters reported that the United States believes that the Wagner Group is invested in the fight for Bakhmut due to its interest in the salt and gypsum from mines near the city. On the 7th of January, Russian propagandists claimed that the Wagner Group had taken control of Soledar, a settlement just outside of Bakhmut, but Ukrainian forces later reported that they still had control of the town despite ongoing Russian assaults in the area. It is clear that Ukraine will need more help from the West in order to be able to fight the Russian military and the Wagner Group in these regions. Zelensky has been asking Europe and the United States for armored vehicles and combat tanks for several months now. Up until now, Western leaders were reluctant to supply Ukraine with these vehicles, but it looks like they are changing their mind, as several European leaders have announced that they are considering sending armored vehicles and tanks to Ukraine. Regarding this issue, the Speaker of the European Parliament, Roberta Metsola, has called for the European Union to accelerate the process of Ukraine joining the bloc and to provide Ukraine with tanks. Kiev has long requested the delivery of German-designed Leopard 2 tanks, which are in the possession of various EU member states and non-member countries, but Berlin hadn't agreed to such a transfer. The tanks could be purchased using the European Peace Facility, an EU fund that has released $2.5 billion for Ukraine's military purchases. Several EU countries were concerned that major donations from their arsenals could compromise their own defense capabilities, but Metsola argued that Leopard tank deliveries would not significantly dent individual countries' overall preparedness. We will return to this topic in a later video. We know that Ukraine is not planning to give up. President Volodymyr Zelensky emphasized that his country is fighting for its destiny and will not stop until the end. Zelensky declared that Ukraine wants victory, not just peace, and will not make concessions or compromises when it comes to regaining control of the eastern Donbass region and Crimea. From this, we can conclude that the Ukrainian army is not afraid of the Russians and that the end of the war in Ukraine is not yet in sight. The Ukrainian army is motivated and will continue fighting until it has liberated Ukraine. We will keep you updated on the developments. Please like and subscribe to support our channel. Thanks for watching.